Bem-vindos ao Encontro Internacional Brasil. Este ano estamos realizando a 10ª edição do Encontro. Ele começou bem aqui, no Museu de Arte Moderna, há exatos 10 anos. A gente realizava ele inicialmente lá dentro, no auditório Lina Bobardi. E hoje, por conta da situação da pandemia, nós tivemos uma restrição, mas também tivemos uma grande liberdade. Nós conquistamos o jardim agora. Agora nós estamos podendo realizar o encontro ao ar livre. Livres para poder falar à vontade, para continuar com a nossa relação, que é muito importante, a nossa relação com você, arquiteto, que é o objeto principal desse nosso evento. O que nós realizamos nesse evento? O evento começou com o Prêmio Internacional Brasil, em que vocês nos apresentam seus projetos que utilizam, que empregam cerâmica, e nós enviamos isso a um júri internacional dos maiores experts em cerâmica, arquitetura e design. Esses projetos são avaliados, todos normalmente são maravilhosos, e o júri seleciona aqueles que irão vencer. Esse ano nós estamos na 12ª edição do prêmio e na 10ª edição do encontro. Como o prêmio foi tão bem sucedido, ele gerou o encontro. O que o encontro acrescenta? Palestras, seminários com os maiores especialistas mundiais no segmento. E esse ano vocês vão ter um programa, uma variedade riquíssima de apresentações que vocês vão acompanhar durante esses 3 dias do evento. Eu não poderia deixar de agradecer as entidades que nos apoiaram, que é a ABD, a Asbeia São Paulo, a Anfacer, o CAL São Paulo, a Ceramics of Italy, o Obra Blanca e o Tile of Spain. Também quero agradecer as lojas parceiras que nos ajudam, que é a Elevato, a HIT, a Ibiza, a Neovila, a Mais Revestimentos. E quem permitiu que fosse realizado esse evento foram os nossos patrocinadores. Nós temos 3 patrocinadores que sabem da importância desse evento: a Itagres, a Quartzolite e a Porto Belo. Então, relaxem, aproveitem, acomodem-se confortavelmente e o evento está começando. Bom encontro para vocês!
Na arquitetura, a única constante é a inovação. Portobello apresenta Arctrends Portobello, onde as referências se encontram. O Arctrends Portobello é uma nova forma de encontrar tendências e referências em revestimentos, arquitetura e design. São milhares de imagens de arquiteturas e ambientes com a curadoria Portobello. Com sistema de busca inteligente, leva as melhores referências de composições e usos de revestimentos realizados pelos arquitetos e designers no Brasil e no mundo. Uma cozinha aconchegante? Um jardim de inverno com madeira? O banheiro dos sonhos? Defina os critérios de busca e encontre as melhores imagens para se inspirar. E mais, o olhar contemporâneo da Portobello traz, por meio de formadores de opinião e especialistas, os mais relevantes conteúdos sobre design, arquitetura e, em especial, revestimentos, que estão em evidência pelo mundo afora. O Arctrends Portobello compartilha ideias e referências. E para todos, é uma nova forma de olhar, pesquisar e revestir a arquitetura. Conheça a nossa nova plataforma de referências. Inspire-se com nossas imagens. Informe-se com nossos conteúdos e encontre os melhores profissionais. Arctrends Portobello, onde as referências se encontram.
Bem-vindos ao Tile Brasil Webinar Tendências para 2021. Eu sou o Ricardo Menassi e vou acompanhar vocês durante a nossa programação de webinars. Para início da nossa programação, teremos Ryan Fazan, um colaborador da Acer e representante da Tiles of Spain nos Estados Unidos. O Ryan Fazan trará um webinar sobre as tendências mais atuais da Espanha, um dos maiores players mundiais.
Quartzolite, você sabe que é de confiança.
Welcome everyone. My name is Ryan Fazan, technical consultant to Tile of Spain for the USA market. Tile of Spain represents ASTER, the Manufacturers Association of the Spanish ceramic tile sector. And as I said, I'm the technical consultant for them in the US that handles their education, editorial, and promotional activities. I've been asked by Tile Magazine Brazil to speak to you guys today, and I'm honored and grateful to have this opportunity to give you an idea of where I think trends are going for 2021 and give you a bit of a forecast of, we're going to go through a few different points. We're going to talk the global tile perspective, where optics are leading the direction for the tile manufacturers to introduce new novelties, to speak to clients' needs today. We're going to talk a bit about our outreach and educational platforms that we've been doing at Tile of Spain in 2020 and moving into 2021 as we all adjust to this new normal. And then finally, we're going to talk some macro product trends that I'm seeing coming out of manufacturers. Despite the lack of trade shows, we're seeing a bunch of novelty programs, and I want to showcase some of those for you today. So I'm going to talk for about 15 or 20 minutes, We've got a lot of ground to cover, so I'm going to do my best to keep us on time. I'll keep an eye on the clock here. The last time I went through it, I was about double time, so we'll see. Please excuse me if I'm speaking a little fast. As I said, I got a lot of stuff to go through. So without further ado, let's look at the perspective that's shifted for all of us in the world this year. I think it's true to say that not since World War II have we had such an impactful time. As a global community, have we lived through a time that has completely altered our reality. And obviously that's going to have some really big impacts in terms of how we design our spaces, how we use our spaces, and what we think about in terms of priorities for our clients and designing and selecting materials for them. So 2020, I think of as the crucible for us as a society. Our world has changed. Our perspective, regardless of where we live on the planet, what sort of economic situation, what political leaning we have, pretty much everything. It really doesn't matter. This year has affected each and every one of us in some pretty major ways. So it's forced a lot of introspection and reevaluation of priorities, and a lot of those priorities have shifted for a lot of our clients, which means design will. Some things that are really top of mind for people are things like hygiene awareness, whether we can be self-sufficient and weather whatever storms come to us and mandates from our governments. Obviously, ease of ownership and creating a space, whether it's a business that we have to operate in these uncertain times, or a residence that's our primary shelter. We want a space to be responsive and adaptable to multiple use cases and offer some ease of ownership. Things like conspicuous status and broadcasting wealth and expenses have become less and less important to clients today when they're weighed against the others. So one thing that, regardless, as I said, regardless of how we think politically, religiously, where we live in the world, there are unavoidable consequences to living through this year of 2020. And something my parents always said that drove me crazy when I was a kid. They never said I had to deal with punishments. They said you're going to have to live with the consequences. And consequences can either be good or bad. It just depends on your perspective. So we're going to talk about some of the consequences of 2020. And one of them is this understanding of relationship between ourselves and the world around us, between ourselves and the community at large, as well as our small sort of bubble of our family and closest friends. This quote by John Donne, I think, is extremely impactful. And it's that no man is an island unto himself. That's a realization that we've all come to this year. And we've never been more aware that our actions and decisions have an impact that reverberates outside of ourselves. Obviously, hygiene has become very top of mind for a lot of people, and we realize that sanitization and cleanliness of both ourselves and the spaces that we interact with is extremely important. But we can't live in fear all the time. I put in this quote from Frank Herbert's sci-fi epic Dune because I just find it so relatable this year. It's the Bene Gesserit maxim. A lot of you will be familiar with it. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. We can't live in fear, and we can't create spaces that generate fear in us, that generate anxiety, and how are we going to keep it clean? And so a lot of the material choices that we're making in our designs today have that as a prime deciding factor. The other thing that we've realized, whether we're operating a business and designing for that, or a hospitality like a hotel, or simply our primary residence, is that we need to optimize the space that we have at our disposal. We're leveraging outdoors for a lot of reasons. Number one, it allows us to expand the area that we have to live and work in. But in a lot of cases, it's the only safe area for us to connect with clients, with, in the case of a restaurant, patios are in some cases the only way that they're allowed to operate, depending on what's going on in their country. And for us as individuals, having a space that we can connect and have friends and family over in a safe way is extremely important. So keeping that visual continuity to expand and flow our living and working space into the exteriors is becoming top of mind for a lot of clients today. The next thing I want to talk about is multi-use capabilities of our spaces. We're realizing the need to design for multiple flexible use cases today. And so our material choices are impacted dramatically when it comes to designing for a space that's going to be used in multiple ways. So the realization, the sort of tipping point that we've come to is the ask that we have of our spaces is huge in the new normal. We have so many demands in terms of performance that we need from our spaces today, whether it's a residence, a business, a restaurant, or a hotel. And our satisfaction is going to lean very, very heavily on the material choices that we make in terms of our design. After all these forced sacrifices that we've had to endure over the past year, ceramics offer this reality that forces none on our clients. It's the one material that can give the yes answer instead of the no and kind of answer that comes from almost everything else. We can have the high design, we can have top of mind performance, cleanability, livability, and hygiene, and still have it in a beautiful style in a way that actually improves our quality of life and doesn't force sacrifice. So now I want to talk a bit about some of the market gaps that manufacturers are seeing and shifting priorities that are forcing these market gaps for clients. We've sort of touched on a bunch of them, but one I really want to put a focus on is this sort of new understanding and appreciation for hygiene that's flowing into our spaces. Businesses are having to sanitize in between guests. In our house as well, if we want to have someone come over, we have to think about sanitizing. When we bring groceries in, we need a clean field to be able to sanitize things when they come in. So all of these things are something that we never really thought of before, but we're shifting habits. We're seeing in North America, at least, studies have come out saying that we're washing our hands about 3 times longer and 70% more often in 2020 versus previous years. We're taking so many more precautions in our daily lives today, keeping distance from people, meeting only outdoors, creating sort of sanitary and safe ways to engage with other people. And so that thought process is moving into our homes. And I ask, and businesses, and I ask clients all the time this year, like, do you want to have to sanitize, a carpet, like wall-to-wall carpeting, even carpet tiling? Do you want to have to worry about the sanitary nature of any surface in your space, the way you think about washing your hands? So that kind of livability and the time it takes to keep our spaces clean is something that's much more top of mind for clients today. To my mind, and the work that I've been doing this year, tile really is the only choice for the new normal because it doesn't force sacrifices on our clients. It's one of the only materials that's impervious, inert, non-organic, non-reactive, and easy to sanitize and live with. The best way to clean ceramic tile is simply with a steam cleaner but it is also resistant to things like bleach and ammonia and other sanitization tools. It's so highly livable and flexible for multiple use cases because of its durability and because of its very inherent nature. So a lot of the pushbacks that I get from clients are things like it being cold. Well, we can always combat that with radiant heat options. It's hard, supplement it with area rugs. If it's loud, there's all sorts of sound abatement mortars, membranes, mechanical fixing methods, and things like that that we can incorporate into our specification and then bolster that by adding in plants and other soft goods to the space to stop that sound reverberation. So there's so many benefits that ceramics have before we even touch on trends. So now I want to talk a little bit about some of the key growth opportunities that we have in the market, because priorities and awareness is shifting for our clients, and we want to be able to take advantage of that to get more ceramics, to create more spaces that are highly livable and useful for our clients in the new normal. Things like 12 and 20 mil gauges for structural ceramic worktops, furniture, and other material that goes so far outside the traditional floors and walls that allows us to expand our specifications to create better performance spaces. Transitioning from inside to outside with our in-out porcelains and traditional mortared applications, but also utilizing the 20 mil and 30 mil pavers for exterior paving to optimize our budgets. Creating a mono-spec space that's utilizing ceramic and porcelain throughout the entire area with one cleaning regimen, with one performance regimen, with one hygiene characteristic throughout the entire space and every touchable surface that will last for decades. And doing all of this with limitless style options. No other material can offer all that entire thing in one answer. Ceramics are always performing, and the ability to holistically recreate any material or design language means that your options aren't sacrificed. That simple one-step cleaning for everything in a space removes anxiety and keeps peace of mind high for clients. It allows us to reclaim potential from our spaces and spill our living and working and operating space into the exteriors. It allows businesses like restaurants to have more patio space and seating to actually weather this economic storm, and allows us to transcend zoning bylaws and expand the visual language of our space and useful environment into a greater area than is allowable in our design. So all the things that I've been talking about today, we've been doing in all kinds of online features this year. Obviously, we can't meet in person like we did at a lot of our trade shows or our junkets like the Passport to Creativity, where we take journalists and architects to Thevisama in Valencia. Instead, we're transitioning to online media. We're doing all sorts of articles, visual and video presentations this year to keep education going and get the manufacturer's message out there. Tile Spain USA has come up with an all-new website that's super engaging, very, very easy to navigate. It gets you to the quick ship collection with in-stock material that's available, as well as a CEU and educational repository that's available at the click of a button. So, I'm at 15 minutes. I got 5 minutes left for trends, so that's great. We're going to go through 5 major trends. I got to say that this is the scariest year I've ever had in terms of a forecast, because I don't think I've ever lived through a year that's been more uncertain than 2020. Now, when it comes to looking at trends, I always build a macro view. I always look at all the influences that are coming into our world that are top of mind for us, that are outside of ceramics. And this picture starts to emerge of things that are important to the general public. And it's things like, how am I going to vacation? What sort of lifestyle is important to me? What kind of things am I doing in my space? Am I going to take up baking? What geopolitical things are important. How am I going to stay sane in this new normal? And does that mean more plants? Am I going to build a library? All of these things start to develop the overall characteristic of what we see in the world. So we're going to go through 5 major trends: deep nobility, Gaia reborn, foundation principles, creating pathways from obstacles, and rational cacophony. So the first one I want to talk about is deep nobility. We're looking for authenticity today. We're surrounded by unrelenting uncertainty for this entire year, and we're finding this deep connection with simple things that have transparent value and honest, relatable context. So the most important button in this design language is delete. How can we take everything superfluous, everything irrelevant away so that we get down to the unique soul and kernel of this idea, so that it is easily relatable, so that it has resonance, not just with the people in the space, but with its surrounding environment, with the world around it? How can we invite the outdoors in and create spaces that have a resonance for not just us, but our space? And create means of expression using simple methods, by using light and shadow, by different shapes and different gloss levels, to create dynamic spaces that adapt to the time of day, the seasons, and create relatable, expressive spaces that uplift us in this time of uncertainty. Excuse me. The next one I want to talk about is Gaia reborn. So we started to see a lot of trends shifting with houseplants and biophilic connection. Green walls are on the rise. Houseplant blogs and Instagram accounts are seeing record-breaking rise in engagement. So we're seeing more and more natural connection in our environments, and so tile is really looking back and reconnecting with its roots as mineral material that's true fired earth. Whether it's glazed or unglazed, we're sort of re-embracing the natural palette of dirt and clay and minerals, because it has that connection to our natural world. Remember, we're inviting the outside in. We're having more and more houseplants, so this relationship to the natural world is traversing multiple different design languages. If we're doing woods, it's unbleached, unstained, simple, natural woods that have relationship with the natural world, that invite that connection with nature into our spaces. This sort of bedrock is something that we're craving. So we're getting back to foundation principles. Again, in our stone looks, in our woods, and in our metals, we're again kind of stepping back. We're throwing away all of the unnecessary adornment, and we're getting down to something very, very simple, really subtle textures. We're refining our technology and our uses of it to not go overboard, and we're creating some of the most harmonious, simple, and yet elegant stone programs that are, again, relatable. That if it's a luxury product, it's not ostentatious. Instead, it's showing its version of luxury in its minute attention to detail, so that it's so inviting, it's so comfortable in a world where there's a lot of discomfort. One thing that makes it very difficult for journalists and educators like myself is this minutia that we're getting down to, and this slight refinement in a lot of our reproductions of other materials is so hard to capture online because the embellishments are so minimal. I love this picture because it really shows the highlighting of the vein and the marble. Because it's taken at an oblique angle with a soft diffused light, you can really see that. On the left side of the screen, where it's in shadow, you really don't, and you can't appreciate it that much. But that's how deeply refined our programs are getting today. Obviously, this has been the year of obstacles, and one of the themes throughout the year is finding pathways through those obstacles. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how we design our spaces to create new avenues rather than seeing restrictions and obstacles. So flexible surfaces for demanding days. We utilize our spaces in so many ways today, and the demands on sanitization and hygiene are much, much greater than they ever have been in the past. So turning to ceramics, not just for your worktops, but even for the veneers, for a lot of the furniture. We're seeing a lot of furniture designers actually moving to ceramic veneer for a lot of their materials where they used to use, say, a composite wood veneer or something else. Creating one performance characteristic in terms of ceramics throughout an entire space is very, very easy for our clients, and allows for the flexible use cases where our kitchen island today operates as an art studio for our kids, a Zoom meeting boardroom for us during the day, and then minutes later needs to be cleaned up, sanitized, and then it's our cooking surface, and then it's our eating surface. So we're creating all of these use cases for our spaces that we never, used to have to do. And so the performance demands on our products are so much greater than they ever have been before. Most importantly is how fast can we transition from one use case to another, which is giving rise to ceramics in a lot of ways. The last one I want to talk about is this rational cacophony. In a world where so much feels irrational, and there are so many constraints put upon us that are outside of our control, we're finding a desire to take back some control and express ourselves in unique and interesting ways. The boundaries of what's stylish or acceptable is becoming so much more personal rather than societally mandated today. And we're reaching out to define our own style, and the manufacturers are giving us that means of expression because we've all been through the crucible this year. The nice thing about going through adversity is it gives us the room to grow. It gives us the inspiration to change and find what truly matters to us. And the options are out there to create these unique spaces and the freedom to do so in ceramic. So I always think about spatial design very similar to being an artist. And whatever medium you're working in art, you're constrained by that medium, whether it's paint or canvas or clay or whatever. And ceramics are one of the only materials as a spatial designer that we have at our disposal that doesn't surround us with a plenitude of constraints. So how many constraints do you want to burden yourself or your clients with in 2021 is the thought that I want to leave you with. So I want to thank you all for your time. I want to thank Tile Magazine Brazil, most especially for giving me this opportunity. I hope I've given you some inspiration moving into 2021. I think it's a really exciting time for ceramic tile, and I can't wait to see what we do together for our clients in the new normal. If you have any questions, you can go to tileofspainusa.com, or you can email me personally at ryanfazan@gmail.com. Thank you all so much for your time. Be safe.
Imagine a seguinte situação. Você está trocando o piso da sua casa, chega à loja e escolhe aquele revestimento dos seus sonhos. Até que o vendedor pergunta:
e o rejunte?
Aposto que você ia adorar ter uma ajudinha para escolher o rejunte ideal e a cor que mais combina com o revestimento, não é mesmo? Então, pensando nisso, criamos o aplicativo Rejuntes Quartzolite, um novo modelo de aplicativo que vai te ajudar nessa escolha tão importante. É isso mesmo! Baixe o aplicativo em seu celular, faça o seu cadastro e pronto! Você já pode descobrir o produto perfeito para o acabamento da sua obra. Veja como é simples. No simulador, você seleciona o ambiente desejado, o tipo de revestimento e escolhe se tira uma foto na hora ou se envia uma foto do revestimento diretamente da galeria do seu celular. Agora é só fazer a simulação com as 25 cores do catálogo Quartzolite e escolher aquela que você mais gostar. Ah, e você ainda pode salvar as simulações para consultar depois, além de conseguir visualizar a cor escolhida e o produto certo para a necessidade. Além disso, na calculadora de consumo de rejuntes, você consegue descobrir a quantidade de rejunte necessária. É só escolher o tipo de rejunte que você vai usar, preencher com as informações e o resultado aparecerá logo em seguida. Viu como é fácil? Aplicativo Rejuntes Quartzolite, a cor que você precisa na palma da sua mão. Baixe agora mesmo e descubra o rejunte ideal.
Quartzolite. Você sabe que é de confiança.
Obrigado, Ryan, pelo riquíssimo webinar sobre tendências da Espanha para 2021. Seguimos agora com a nossa programação pelo mundo dos mosaicos. Chamamos agora o webinar de Regina Charrini e Simone Berton. Tenho certeza que vocês sairão inspiradíssimos desse webinar. Regina Charrini e Simone Berton participaram do maior mosaico mundial, na Itália. Fiquem agora com o webinar delas.
Sejam bem-vindos à Mostra Unlimited Porto Belo.
Está começando a Mostra Unlimited 2020.
Essa mostra muito.
É isso que eu quero fazer em dimensões maiores.
Muito feliz com esse convite da Porto Belo para participar dessa Mostra Unlimited.
Estamos aqui na frente da fábrica de lastras Porto Belo.
Que prazer, hein, Glenn, estar aqui hoje.
E agradecer a oportunidade de estar no meio de grandes nomes.
Recebemos agora o presidente da Porto Belo, Mauro do Vale.
Olá, Ju.
Olá,
prazer
Mauro.
estar aqui.
As tendências se manifestam na sociedade e se apresentam de várias formas.
Uma honra estar aqui, fazendo parte dessa mostra, com todos esses profissionais que eu sempre admirei.
Obrigado, muito obrigado mesmo.
Quero agradecer a todos que nos acompanharam e dizer que a programação não acaba aqui.
Vamos apresentar para vocês a execução de um mosaico artístico, a obra Cervantes. Escolhida a imagem, executamos um mapeamento das regiões anatômicas e de luz e sombra. Como nossa imagem inicial era em preto e branco, colorimos o desenho, que será nossa guia de execução. Nós não trabalharemos sobre este. Definidos os materiais a serem utilizados, elaboramos o campione, uma escala de cores com as quais iremos trabalhar, definidas para cada área e em tons de luz, sombra e médios. Fixamos então nossa imagem em preto e branco numa base provisória. Isolamos com plástico e cobrimos com uma tela. Nessa técnica específica, construiremos um mosaico diretamente sobre a imagem usando argamassa. Na construção de um rosto, iniciamos pelos olhos, posteriormente, lábio, nariz e demais estruturas. Seguindo sempre linhas de andamento, ou seja, linhas de construção, que nos permitem definir estruturas e, com o uso das cores, dar profundidade à imagem. Cada peça é única e cortada manualmente, e neste caso com martelina e talholo. Terminado, o mosaico é assentado sobre uma base definitiva, onde é limpo e são dados os acabamentos necessários.
Olá, eu sou Simone Berton, sejam bem-vindos a Berton & Charrini Mosaicos. Este é o espaço onde realizamos os mosaicos, as obras em arquitetura, mosaico artístico, mosaico em decoração e também promovemos cursos para aperfeiçoamento em mosaico com professores, parceiros e convidados. Aqui temos um piso em mosaico romano, feito em mármore, pronto para ser instalado. Tampos em mosaicos de pastilha de vidro feitos na técnica indireta, em processo de finalização. Preparamos para vocês uma bancada com a variedade de materiais que utilizamos, que são as cerâmicas, os azulejos, pastilhas de vidro, stained glass, esmalte italiano, em pedaços grandes, as pizzas, pedaços pequenos, esmalte argentino, estamos desenvolvendo uma parceria para o próximo ano, e as ferramentas as quais utilizamos. Este é um torquês de roldanas, ele é utilizado para cortar pastilhas de vidro. Esse é um torquês reto com lidia, utilizado para o azulejo. Utilizamos também a ponta diamantada. Para cerâmicas mais grossas. E também a martelina e o tagliolo, que a Regina vai demonstrar.
Olá, eu sou Regina Charrini e vou apresentar para vocês a martelina, uma das ferramentas mais tradicionais dos mosaicistas. Ela é confeccionada em aço, com vidia em uma ou duas pontas e trabalha em conjunto com o talholo, que é um cinzel. Então aqui ela dá muita autonomia para a gente para poder cortar qualquer tipo de material, desde as pedras naturais como os mármores. E assim a gente vai trabalhando até chegar no tamanho desejado. Esse trabalho que eu estou fazendo é um trabalho estrutural em 3D. Eu estou trabalhando com esmalte italiano e ouro.
Obrigada, Regina! E aqui é parte do nosso estoque, onde oferecemos materiais, ferramentas, publicações em nossa loja virtual para os mosaicistas.
Foi um prazer mostrar para vocês o nosso espaço e um pouquinho de como a gente trabalha.
Obrigada!
Obrigado, Regina, obrigado, Simone, pelo inspirador passeio pelo mundo dos mosaicos. Agradecemos a presença de todos e chamamos vocês para continuar conosco na nossa programação de webinars amanhã. Amanhã teremos os temas de arquitetura sustentável e tendências para o Brasil. Obrigado, até amanhã.
Na arquitetura, a única constante é a inovação. Portobello apresenta Arquitrends Portobello, onde as referências se encontram. O Arquitrends Portobello é uma nova forma de encontrar tendências e referências em revestimentos, arquitetura e design. São milhares de imagens de arquiteturas e ambientes com a curadoria Portobello. Com sistema de busca inteligente, leva as melhores referências de composições e usos de revestimentos realizados pelos arquitetos e designers no Brasil e no mundo. Uma cozinha aconchegante? Um jardim de inverno com madeira? O banheiro dos sonhos? Defina os critérios de busca e encontre as melhores imagens para se inspirar. E mais, o olhar contemporâneo da Portobello traz, por meio de formadores de opinião e especialistas, os mais relevantes conteúdos sobre design, arquitetura e, em especial, revestimentos, que estão em evidência pelo mundo afora. O Arquitrends Portobello compartilha ideias e referências. E para todos, é uma nova forma de olhar, pesquisar e revestir a arquitetura. Conheça a nossa nova plataforma de referências. Inspire-se com nossas imagens. Informe-se com nossos conteúdos e encontre os melhores profissionais. Arquitrends Portobello, onde as referências se encontram.
O rejunte da casa da Bia está velho e desbotado. Ela já tentou de tudo, mas nada resolve esse problema. Às vezes, esse detalhe passa despercebido para muitas pessoas. Mas não para a Bia, que gosta de renovar os seus ambientes. Mas só de pensar no trabalho dessa renovação, Bia já estava quase desistindo. Até conhecer o Renova Fácil Quartzolite. Como o próprio nome diz, o Renova Fácil Quartzolite permite trocar a cor do rejunte de um jeito fácil e rápido, sem precisar investir muito tempo ou dinheiro. Disponível em 6 cores, o Renova Fácil é um rejunte líquido em base acrílica da Quartzolite, que já vem pronto para uso. É só aplicar em qualquer tipo de rejunte. Sua embalagem totalmente ergonômica permite uma aplicação simples, sem sujeira e com excelente resultado. Ele rende até 30 metros quadrados e dura até 15 vezes mais que os concorrentes, sem a necessidade de selador. Basta agitar o produto antes do uso, retirar o pino de proteção e aplicar na área desejada. Depois, é só limpar com uma esponja. E pronto, seu rejunte está novinho. Viu como é fácil dar aquele toque diferente no ambiente, como é o caso da Bia? Ou ainda renovar aquele rejunte velho, desbotado ou sujo com o Renova Fácil Quartzolite? Rejunte com cara de velho ou sem combinar com o ambiente? Nunca mais! Renova Fácil Quartzolite. A cor que você precisa, a Quartzolite tem. Quartzolite, você sabe que é de confiança.